life looks okay but feels off, this is where we talk about it all. Hi, friends, and welcome to This Shit Can't Be It, where we have real, unfiltered conversations about rising through all the hard things, reclaiming your personal power. So, whether you're here to be seen, to be heard, to get inspired, find tools, strategies for your own healing, your own growth, your own evolution, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Anne, and today we're diving into turning pain into purpose, a healing journey through loss and resilience. Today, my guest is Trish, and early on, she dove into spirituality where she studied and mastered Eastern and Western Reiki. She became certified in Louise Hay's Heal Your Life Facilitator and more, but carried the belief that everyone knew what she knew. So felt her wisdom was not as valuable as it truly is. And today she's here, she's a testament, and she's helped so many other people through their healing journey, no matter what that's been. She's gone through it all, losing her daughter from struggling to being on the streets, to miscarriages, losing her mom and dad, her husband, and her brother. So she's been through a lot, and she's been able to help impact so many others with her energy healing and her journey and her own story. So welcome today, Trish. I am excited to have you here today. You are a godsend for me. Those who don't know, Trish has been one of my trainers, one of my mentors. So I'm really excited to have you on here today. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning. Oh, it's afternoon now. Thank you so much, Anne, for having me. It's such a pleasure to always see you and to think that we first started out on Zoom together.
I
It's
know, right?
wonderful.
So yeah, we
Yeah.
started we started during COVID. I didn't even know what Reiki was. We'll get into that story a little bit later. So let's just dive right in. Let our viewers know what life was like before you dove into the spirituality. Like, what were some of the things that you were navigating, and that actually, how'd you get into this line of work?
Well, when I was 24, my husband died of a drowning accident in our yard, actually in our dugout, and I tried to save him and I was unable to. And I was out in the middle of, I'm going to say the bush. It was up north and away from my family. I had a 1 year old and a 4 year old and no driver's license. So I had to grow up really fast. The closest town to me was High Prairie, Alberta, and that was 30 miles away. So it was a totally different life. I grew up in Edmonton, so I was a city girl, and it was a shock, let me tell you. I had to just persevere. I think when you're that age, you know that you have to be strong. I knew what that looked like. My father died when I was 13 years old, and I watched my mom, and it was very, very hard to watch her sit and wait for us to come home from school, and that we were such a huge part of her life, but she didn't really have anything outside of that life. So, that's where it started. I suppressed my grief and my sadness, and I knew I had to raise these kids and just get on with it. So I was like, it was scary. I was, like I say, out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there were families around in this farming community. I had been robbed. I had gone on a holiday and I came back and my house had been robbed. So then I was really, really scared out there. And again, suppressing those emotions and those feelings and just walking around with that smile on my face as best I could. So that carried on for quite a few years. I did meet somebody though, and I married him, and we're still together. So we've been together for 39 plus 5 years. So 39 years
Wow.
married, and we were together for 5 years before that.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. And I think that's where you and I connected at such a deep level because I lost two brothers when I was younger, and I watched my mother do the same thing. Like, we'd come home from school and she'd be lying on the couch, depressed, crying, like just beside herself. And yeah, I learned at an early age to suppress, and I learned to mask it with the smile and the giggles. Like, I remember I was working, actually it was when I moved to Edmonton because I'm originally from Nova Scotia, that my boss in Edmonton, he's like, "Anne, you giggle a lot." And I said, "Yes, and when you get to know me, I have a giggle for every situation." So I said, you're
Right?
going to know when I'm angry. You're going to know, you're going to know when something's funny because it changes. You're going to know it all. But it's part of the masking. It's part of, you know, hiding and avoiding and suppressing, like you said, everything that's happening and the emotions that you don't want to deal with. So, what happens when we don't deal with those emotions when it comes to our energy? Because you're the best one to answer this question.
Yeah, yeah, you get sick. That's the bottom line. I got everything imaginable. So my husband died, and I had a year after that, I had back surgery. The year after that, I had gallbladder surgery. The year after that, I had my appendix out. Then I got asthma, fibromyalgia. Like it was just one thing after another. I felt like I was allergic to life. I had allergy reactions to everything imaginable. And I knew I was going down that rabbit hole. Like I knew I wasn't doing well. But again, just, smiling, pretending I was okay, still not really getting in touch with my feelings. And I remember that my husband that I'm with now, we went to a marriage encounter course. And so this was like, what was it? Probably eight, say 9 years after my husband died. And we went to this marriage encounter course. And one of the questions was, if I died, this is what I would feel. And so then you had to go to your room and write down all the question or all the answers to that question about how you would feel if your spouse died. Well, I already knew that was what that was like. And I just cried. I had realized that I had put my husband on the shelf and I had just kept moving forward. I just kept moving forward. The crazy part is, Anne, I recently, and I just want to, since we're on this story, I went to Sedona last year and I went on a silent retreat. And while I was there, I was at a creek and I was sitting on some like the red rocks. They were like steps. And I was sitting there and there was somebody in this creek with blonde hair, the same color as my first husband, my late husband's hair. And there were bulrushes and it triggered, so I'm talking 40 years later, triggered this grief in me, this deep grief that I couldn't save him. And so I was kind of whimpering, and the facilitator put her hands on my shoulders and she said, make noise. And so I cried a little bit louder and she said, no, like loud. And
Yeah.
I'm sure the whole jungle heard me. I cried so loud, I couldn't believe it.
Wailed.
And,
Yeah.
I think people thought my grief was around my daughter who had just passed. It's been 2 years now. So it was a year. It wasn't. My grief was around my first husband, if you can believe it. Grief comes at you when you least expect it, and there is no time on grief. And if you're stuffing it down and carrying on with life, it's going to catch you at some point.
Yeah.
It's better
Yeah.
to deal with it, right?
It'll bite you in the ass.
It'll bite you, and it bit me. But it was great.
Yeah.
It was great because it had to come out. And I'm sure there was some grief coming out, of course, about around my daughter at the same time, and the people that I've lost in my life. There's so many. I mean, I can't even, you named a few, but I lost three good friends and a father-in-law in a year. I lost 22 people, and I think 2010. Like, there's a lot of people, and you can only handle so much, right? But thank God I have the tools. That's all I have to say. Thank God got the tools. So
Yeah.
that's what happened. I got sick, I
That's,
got ill.
yeah. That's crazy because you're right. And we're not taught these things. Like this is,
Mm-mm.
there's no real navigational tools when we're being raised on how to deal with any of this stuff.
Yeah,
My mother lost two of her children out of five of us. She lost three of us actually because she carried a baby full term and it passed away at birth. And back in those days, they didn't even tell you the sex. They just took the baby. You didn't get a chance to see it.
yeah,
So she never knew if it
poor
was a
lady.
boy or a girl. Yeah. So she technically lost three children in the span of her life. And she died at the age of 57 with a ton of health issues. And
Yeah,
was like, none of us are taught grieving and how to grieve. And I I don't believe there's a written book for it because we all do it differently. And you're right, it does come back and bite. And I remember somewhere along the lines in my childhood, I learned to suppress as well, to the point, where how your parents teach you stop crying. Well, I
Yeah.
literally stopped crying. So when my
Mhm.
brothers passed away, for some reason, I somewhere adopted the belief that I can't grieve them. That's my mother's space. Like she needs to go through this. So it wasn't until probably in the last, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years, that somebody brought it to my attention doing energy work that I hadn't grieved their deaths. And like you say, it came back and bit. I was 5 and 9 when they passed away. And just in that
That's a long
time frame,
time.
yeah. And then the way they said it, it triggered. And I was like, oh my God. And for years, I'm going to say it was probably in that 5 to 7 year range that I actually learned how to allow myself to cry because I would suppress it to the point where I would hyperventilate. So I related hyperventilating and unable to breathe to crying because I would try to, I didn't even
Wow.
realize I was trying to
Yeah.
stop it. So I would just naturally, if I needed to cry, I would hyperventilate. So I just stop it. I'd find a way to
Yeah.
suppress it and stop it. That's how well I mastered to break the crying cycle in my life. And when I learned to cry, it was like, holy God, like you say, it's liberating to be able to let that noise out because that in itself is a release.
Yeah.
There's a reason
Yeah.
crying should make a noise.
I let it out for like about an hour. And there was only one person on the rocks with me. And when I turned around, all the steps were filled with people. And my first thought was, oh my God, they all saw me do that. And then my second thought was, wow, they all held space for me. It
Yeah.
was so empowering. It was unbelievable, really.
Wow.
And one thing I noticed though, like with my daughter, she passed 2 years ago, and I had made a conscious decision to grieve with grace
Mm,
and really allow myself to feel it, to experience it, but in the same breath, to really know that she's in a better place and to not stay stuck in grief, not allow myself as a parent to stay stuck in grief, but to know she is in a better place. And I have signs all the time. And, the light is just incredible that she brings in. So I know that her life, I mean, it was so horrible on the streets, and her addiction was so horrible. And it was so not her. If you had known her before, it just wasn't her. And so I know she's in a better place. It's hard to be sad for a person when they've gone through so much. It's like a
mm.
person dying of cancer. Once they pass, almost there's that relief for them, right? Because they've been in so much pain.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people mistaken and don't realize that they have a choice on how
Yeah,
they want to look at that grief
yeah,
and label that grief and give that grief meaning. And that took me a long time to learn too, is everything in life, no matter what happens, whether it's the loss of somebody, whether it's, the loss of a job or dealing with different challenges, we get to label and create the meaning that it's going to be for us.
yeah.
And, I watched my mother grieve for quite some time, and I watched her suppress it with the first one because she still had us kids there and another sick child still alive. So she suppressed it with the first one. But when the second one passed away, we were all in school. So she was home alone all day up until we got home from school, which was closer to 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So during that day, she was just she had no purpose. She was just utterly depressed. And then it was like out of the blue from my child perspective, it was like out of the blue, she snapped out of it, told my father she's going back to work because she hadn't been working because the boys were sick and needed her home. And life completely shifted and changed. And it's almost like she flicked a switch. And I didn't know until about 6 months before she passed away that she had gone to the doctor and got put on antidepressant pills. And that was the switch in her. And
Okay. And I think,
she never came off those pills. And we almost lost her 6 months before she passed away. This is how I found out she was on antidepressants all that time. And when the doctors started to wean her drugs back into her system, they forgot the antidepressant pills. And I showed up after work one day and I did not recognize the woman in that room. And I'll never forget it. It was such an impact. It was such a vivid moment that I walked out of that room in pure shock and panic. And as my dad, because we all just got off work, as my dad walked down the hall, because he just got off work, he could tell something was wrong just by my whole vibe, my energy, look, and everything. And he instantly knew. He didn't even go into the room. He went straight to the desk and said, "Did you put that woman back on her antidepressants?" And the nurse went through her chart and said, "No, we didn't." He said, "Get in that room and start taking care of that woman." Because I didn't know what to
Yeah.
do. I would have been 22 at the time and I was just beside myself. I didn't recognize her. I had no idea who
Yeah.
she was.
Yeah. It's good you're mentioning that, because antidepressants and that sort of thing, because um, having a daughter who became addicted to prescription drugs, I kind of went the other way. I went everything alternative, and like really, really, like seriously everything alternative that I could do. I go to the doctor every year. I get my blood test done and my physical done. I believe in being proactive, but I'm a difficult patient because they can't give me anything. So partly allergies and partly because of having my daughter in that state. But one thing I learned very quickly, when I started doing Reiki and natural healing on people, I met a young girl at a conference and she just kept saying she was afraid. She was afraid. I said, "What are you afraid of?" She said, I'm afraid of the dark." "Well, why are you afraid of the dark?" And she says, "Because I'm afraid I'm going to die." And anyway, I continued to work with her that day and then reached out to her after. And one day I reached out to her and she didn't answer the phone. Her husband did. And he told me she had died. The reason she had died is because she was trying to do everything alternative and she would not take her meds for her chemical imbalance. And from that point on, I always had the attitude to say to my clients, try alternative. If it doesn't work, don't wait around. Do what you have to. If you have a chemical imbalance and your alternative methods aren't working, then there is a purpose for those drugs. I
Right.
don't think everybody needs to jump to the drugs first, but I do think it's important to recognize that sometimes, sometimes you do need something to switch that for you. So
Yep.
I share that message because I really believe that had that lady taken something from her doctor,
She'd
she
still
would
be
be here
here.
today.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, and I totally agree with you. I'm in the same boat you're in because I think and I believe that my brain has created the allergy to medications because I'm like you. There's a lot of medications I can't take, but I'm on thyroid. I need my thyroid. It has to balance my system because my natural thyroid doesn't work. And there is a time and place. You're right. There is a time and place for medication.
Yeah,
But yeah, the medical system, I get frustrated when they push the drugs so quickly, knowing there's alternative methods out there that people
yeah,
could and should try first, especially when it
yeah,
comes to mental health. Like there is a time and place where yes, you need the drugs to balance 100%. Like our bodies are meant to be in homeostasis and if our natural chemical makeup is not balanced, then we have to get it balanced one way or another, whether it be long term drugs or short term drugs. Sometimes they're needed. But that's one question I always ask my doctors when they're ready to push drugs, especially on my child. Is it addictive? And there's two different types of addiction that I've learned. And one is chemical addiction, like cocaine. And the second is mental addiction. Because although the drugs may not be chemically altering to your system that has an addictive property, if you think you need them, still an addiction. So
right.
there is a time when you do need them. You're right. Like I need my thyroid. And same thing with mental health. There are times that you do need the drugs. And I love how you said that because it is important that if you think you need the balance now, then sure, go do the drugs. You got to do what's best for you. But I'm like
Yeah,
you, I prefer alternative methods first. And that's my first question. What are my options before those? And if,
absolutely. And I don't think we don't have to be, yeah, drugging ourselves for everything. I mean, I understand there's people, they have anxiety, and I've had anxiety in the past as well. And when I was young, after my husband died, I had anxiety, and Ativan was the thing to give me, and I realized pretty quickly I was in trouble. Um, It's a very addictive drug. I don't care what
yeah,
anybody says. I find it to be very, very addictive. But you know what? I'm going to just say that it's all those allergies to the drugs and the reactions that I had. I mean, it's not always allergies, but definitely reactions that I had that brought me to who I am today. So it was all my sadness, all my pain, and all my illness that had me searching. I got so ill I couldn't even lift a cup of coffee anymore. I had no muscle strength. I ended up in the hospital, and the doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. They thought I had this disease that was going to take my life. Like, it was just the most crazy of few days, actually. And that night, that first night, I just asked, I asked the divine, what is this? I asked God, what is wrong with me? And the word stress came through. And I thought, wow, because I felt this warmth just go right through my whole body, right from my head to my feet. It just rushed through. It was just an amazing feeling. And so I told my doctor in the morning. He said, I don't know what's wrong with you. And I said, well, I guess it's stress. And he said, he was shocked. And he said, do you believe that? And I said, that's what I was told during the night. That's the words that came through. That was the word that came through. He said, if you believe that, then you need to go home and you need to take care of yourself. I've seen people end up in wheelchairs and end up blind because of stress. And so I came home and took Reiki training. And I started, which I thought was weird. And I actually refused, I don't know how many times before that. But when you get bad enough, you get sick enough, you can't take drugs, and you're like, you're in trouble, like you're in trouble, then you got to do something. And so
yeah.
I ended up taking Reiki training because somebody came to my aid when I was really, really sick. And I couldn't believe how it helped me in that one treatment, how I went from, bedridden almost, because I'd been in the hospital on intravenous, really sick. There was a nurse's strike. They had to send me home, and like it was just crazy. And then just to have that treatment and how much energy I had after, I made a huge meal for my family. I felt quite good considering. And then I had her do two more treatments that week. Well, on the Friday, there was a belly dancing event, a Greek event, which I had sold tickets for it. So I didn't want to miss it. And I was up belly dancing.
No
So
way. So
yes, I
how old
was.
would you have been at this time?
I would have been like around 40, I
Okay.
think right around 40. Because that's when I really started my healing journey. It wasn't till
Yeah.
then. I suffered for a lot of years before and I got sick. I had, you know, I hate saying the word because sometimes it empowers it and gives it to you. But I would get like lung infections and stuff every month. Like I was sick a lot. And so once I started on this healing journey, and I had Louise Hay's book, I Heal Your Body, and I would walk around and I would say, I'm stronger and stronger every day. I'm healthier and healthier in every way. And I did. I got stronger and I got healthier.
Wow. That
Yeah.
is amazing. And it's funny because I didn't realize that you didn't start your healing journey. Like I always thought it was younger than that when you started. Because I am kind of in the same boat. I would have been in my mid 40s when I started my journey and met you. So
Yeah.
you and I met 5, 6 years ago, and I was literally starting to learn about taking care of my body. I had heard Dr. Joe say that if you're living in high stress, it's keeping your body chemically disrupted. You're not in homeostasis where we're meant to be. And when he explained it in scientific terms, I was like, holy fuck, that's me. And I was like, I got to start doing something to help alleviate stress. So that's when I started learning about things like meditation and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
I always talk about it. It took me 2 years before I could actually have a meditation where my mind was actually quiet. It took a lot of guided meditations. I remember the first time somebody said to me, try to meditate without guided meditations. I was like, what? I was like, I can't do that. And I was like, no, I'm going to try. It took me 2 years to get to that point. I was going to try. And now, like, I still love my guided meditations, but I will do silent meditations because so much happens in a silent meditation. It's crazy. And
Exactly. Yeah.
and that's what I met you. It was actually during COVID. Things opened up a small window, and I went to a women's weekend. I guess you could call it a retreat because it was 2-day event and it was local, so I didn't stay. And I met a ton of female energy healers, and this was all new to me. And I remember meeting one lady in particular, and she just, and like some of these people are extremely intuitive and they're looking at me, and I'm like, I can tell you're freaking reading me, but you're not telling me anything. So one of them I looked at, I said, I know you're reading me. Like, what the fuck are you seeing, right? Anyway, she looked at me and she's like, you should take Reiki. And I was like, the hell is Reiki? Anyway, her and I get connected on Facebook right then and there. And then she sends you a message and says, hi, Trish, meet Anne. Anne, meet Trish. Anne wants to take Reiki. And I remember our first call together. You were like, why do you want to take Reiki? I'm like, I don't even know if I want to take Reiki. I don't even know what the hell Reiki is. And you and I think we were on the phone for over an hour that night because
Wow.
you were probing me, asking me like when you were a child, do you remember when you just knew something? Like you were really probing me to go back and remember that natural intuition that we have as kids that nobody suppressed it in me. I suppressed it in me. Society suppressed it in me because when my mom passed away, I suppressed everything and became a workaholic to avoid it all.
Yes.
So it wasn't religion because I hear a lot of people that are Catholics or certain religions that is like voodoo, it's witchery, it's all this other stuff and it's all negative. And I didn't have any of that influence. None of that happened to me. I happened to me. So as you're probing me and you're like, do you, I was like, holy shit. Like it really, and I get goosebumps just talking about it today. Whenever I tell people this story about your and my conversation, I get goosebumps because it reminded me how strong our natural intuition and our gifts were as kids, and not just in me, but in all of us. And even my mother could smell death when the boys were dying. And we used to joke about her smelling death when the boys were dying because nobody else could smell it. She could barely stay in the room with those boys. And she'd say to the nurses, there's something foul in that room. And I can barely breathe. And they'd walk in and they're like, we don't smell anything. And she could barely stay in the room. And so, I mean, we had a ton of natural gifts that I totally suppressed and forgot about. So, for most of my adult life, never utilized them, never paid attention, didn't didn't know what I didn't know, just working through life on a logical aspect. So as you're
Yeah.
probing me, I was like, holy shit. So I was like, sure, I'll take Reiki.
So I find that so interesting because honestly, like I must have been channeling. I must have been channeling a bunch of stuff because, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
remember that. And I usually remember stuff, but if I'm channeling, I don't remember.
no,
And it's not something I don't just go around channeling all the time. It's
yeah,
just that it happens. It happens for me so naturally especially when I'm coaching, lots of times I'll channel while I'm coaching, right? So
yeah,
maybe that's kind of what was happening is that,
yeah.
spirit was saying to you, this is
Come
what
back to it.
this is what she needs to hear, saying to me, this is what she needs to hear. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
wow, that's
Crazy.
awesome.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
crazy. And I mean, since then,
yeah.
I've even bought like mediumship courses. Like I got right into the intrigueness of it all. And I always like Dr. Joe because he takes that spiritual aspect and gives you the
Mhm.
scientific proof behind it and the scientific understanding behind it. And he's not everybody's cup of tea, But I loved it because he could take it and prove that this is not bullshit. Your mind is what makes you
Yeah.
sick and it's what can heal you. And the way he goes about it is so different from the typical society. And it's it really helped me tap back into and connect with people like yourself because to me it was always normal anyway, and I just didn't realize because my parents didn't know how to nurture it. They never had it suppressed in them, but they didn't know how to really nurture any of those gifts and help expand them and broaden them. So, getting connected with people like yourself, I ended up getting connected with a ton of them in a very short period of time.
Mhm.
And I took Reiki with you not once, but twice. You got me Reiki level 3 certified. And it was
Yeah,
funny
it's
because, yeah,
wonderful.
yeah, our first class, I think there was 4 people, and Tara, Abram, and I were together through all 3 levels.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And I'm so grateful that I was able to do that on Zoom. It's not something that, again, I believed in. I didn't think it was something that should be put on Zoom. But what I did was I have some very high level masteries. And I took my Shambhala mastery, which is uh, lots and lots and lots of symbols, like 350 some symbols. So I took that energy and I brought that energy in order to initiate each one of you online. I know there's people that are doing it, but it wasn't like I can't support, for example, recorded Reiki training. I just can't support it. I'm like, I don't. When I was on with you guys and you had your mic, as long as your mics weren't turned off, I could feel your energy flowing through my
Yeah.
screen. It was just
You could connect.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I know I said to everybody, well, if it doesn't work, you can come and have an attunement after the pandemic. Well, it worked for everybody and it was powerful. And I feel like even sometimes it was more powerful than in person. So it was
Yeah. a
good.
hundred
It was
percent.
great.
And even after I took that training, like it helped me a lot. My daughter still asks me to do Reiki on her head if she gets a headache. Like it's
Yeah,
crazy. And
yeah,
it's very powerful. I come back to it. I use it in different ways. Like I don't do Reiki sessions per se, like you still do, but I've done like some free distance Reiki training just to help keep myself in tune and in touch. And I noticed when I started doing that, I was channeling the mediumship stuff. And I didn't
sure.
even know the two were connected.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? How well, that's what I think Reiki does is it opens you up. Not and Reiki's pure and it's loving. You know, this stuff that it'll open you up to bad stuff, it does not. It's pure and it's loving. It's not Reiki that does that. It's other stuff that people dabble in that does that. But Reiki is very, I teach all my students to connect to the divine energy. You don't have to be religious, but I ask that you have some sort of belief, right? And people do. The majority of people have, whether it's universal, God, whatever that is, the spirit, Holy Spirit, whatever, you have to connect. You have to bring in that pure divine light in order to be, I think, a really good um, Reiki healer. Now, I've gone way beyond Reiki as well. So, I mean, I still do Reiki treatments. I still go back to Reiki basics, but as far as energy and ascending from that, yeah, it's been a crazy 30 years. So 30 years ago, that's when I was doing it. Almost 30 years it'll be. That's when
Wow.
I started and became a master, and I just haven't turned back.
So take us through that journey. So you were really sick. You got into the energy, like you had messages tap in to help you understand what was going on. I was so blocked out of that stuff. So I had to have somebody else tell me, like you, other people tell me that
Well,
I have that gift, but you had it, you had tapped into it already. So you were already having
oh,
connection.
not 100%. I had to be told as well. I actually, as I said, I didn't believe in it. I thought it was weird. And I went to a spiritual coach for some sort of course she was teaching. And then I phoned her back and said, I don't think I can take that course. And she said, why? And I said, well, I don't know. Do I have to change religions? Like, because it felt so weird to me. They were talking about all this weird stuff. And she said, no. And then she told me I was the healer. And I said, she said, you are going to be, you're going to take things out of people just like they do in the Philippines, but it won't be objects. It'll be an energy. You're going to be like me where you can, get messages. And I said, I don't want to be that. Actually, Anne, that's what I said before I started this is I don't want that. And then I phoned her back the next day and I said, what did you mean like I'd be a healer? And she was a psychic, right? So she told me everything. And I just honestly, I took the information and then before you knew it, I took Reiki training and I literally ran with it. I took every training I could take and I still have for like 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
you and I talking and you were saying that, not tens of thousands, thousands upon thousands in training.
Oh, like dollars? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did your journey look like? You dove into Eastern or Western Reiki, and how would you describe that as being
Yeah.
like
I
how do
started
you
Western
differentiate the two?
I started Western Reiki. It was actually a Catholic nun. She was 77 years old who taught me. And growing up Catholic, that made it right for me because, you hear this stuff is all weird and wrong. But the Catholic Church didn't teach me that. It was other people that said that. Because there were actually a lot of the nuns were doing Reiki on people. So I felt like it was safe to take it from her. I figured if she's 77, you know, it's got to be safe. Anyway, I took it and I loved her. And she was the person who phoned me and said, Trish, dear, you need to take your master's. And I said, oh, no, sister, I don't want to be a master. And she said, yeah, I've been hearing about the work you're doing in Alberta and you need to share. You need to share this with people. And so you have to realize that was years ago and people were hiding in the closet. They weren't telling people that they were doing Reiki. So anyway, after her phoning me, I don't know how many times that week, I finally gave in and I went and took the Reiki training, the master training, and I never turned back. I just couldn't learn enough. So once I did that, then after I was a master for a year, Usui master, I went on to take the Eastern teachings, which was my master came from, I had two masters come from Japan and they did the teaching in Las Vegas. So I took my teaching in Las Vegas with them, and it was amazing. And so, what the masters had taught us is that, Reiki in the Western world is very watered down, and we are complicating it way too much. It's simple, it's beautiful. And also, my other master, I've got 9 different masters. So, my other master from Japan, um, that was his message too, that we've watered it down. And so I kept thinking, well, if it's from God, how does it get watered down? But there is something to the initiation, I have to tell you. There's definitely something to it. And I took that. And the thing about the Eastern teachings, in the Western teachings, it's like a head to toe treatment. And there's several positions. Where in the Eastern teachings, it's very specific. It's way more specific on it goes with your intuition and your guidance, and you're following that through that treatment. Um, what else can I point out about the and there's so many wonderful techniques, like so many. You have to come take that weekend, Dad,
I
because
know,
I
right?
teach the Easter teachings retreat weekend. It's so amazing because there's so many awesome techniques where it doesn't take a long time to take that pain away. It's like a minute. There's
Yeah.
certain technique where it's gone in a minute. Like it's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy good. So that was really, really awesome. Then I took Karuna Masters because, I just, again, wanted to go learn more. It was always about, it's not an ego thing for me. It's always about wanting to learn more to offer you.
Mm.
right? It's for the people. I always want to bring the best teachings to the people. So that's why I took so crazy much. And then Karuna, what's really amazing about that, so you need to be a Reiki Usui master for 1 year before you can become a Karuna master. But Karuna is very compassionate, and it again, it's very specific. So it could be abuse, it could be psychic attack, it could be past life stuff. So there are symbols that are very specific to the problems. So that was really awesome. Then I wanted more. And so then I took my Shambhala training, which was, again, that's like 352 symbols, I believe it was. So that was a lot. Then as time moved on, I created my own healing um, modality called divine compassion, which I put the Shambhala into as well. So my students, it's not just a quick process. They have to be very disciplined. They have to make sure that they're ready. They can't come in with anger or unresolved issues because it literally blows up in your face if you do, because it's very, very powerful. And you have to be ready to really connect to the divine and do that divine work. So that happened. So it's been a real journey. And I, of course, took every other modality imaginable along the way, but I always go back to energy work. I find it very beautiful, very powerful. And we're made up of energy. And if we're not taking care of that energy body, then we're in trouble. So the beautiful thing about energy, about Reiki, is it works on the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical body. And so sometimes you'll hear people say, well, I didn't feel anything. Like I went to this lady and I didn't feel anything. And I'm like, well, that doesn't mean anything because maybe um, your head was clearer the next day. Or maybe all of a sudden you started meditation or yoga or prayer. So you never know what it's going to actually, what level it's going to work on.
Yeah, no. And even just taking the training with you, like within a first few hours, I think all of us, our entire nervous systems just calm right down. Like I think that's
You
the
gave
first
me
time in my
goosebumps.
well, it's true. It's probably the first time in my adult life that I actually experienced a level of calmness beyond even what because I was learning
Yeah,
on my own up until then and doing the guided meditations. I wasn't able to quiet my mind still at that point. And taking your Reiki training helped my nervous system calm down like
yeah,
jumps compared to what it was. The meditations, even though I wasn't quieting my mind, they were still helping. And I got
yeah,
to the point where I even bought a headband so I could go to sleep with guided meditations because I know our subconscious still absorbs. So I was like, you know what? I'm so busy and freaking on
yeah.
cloud nine with energy, like
Mhm.
so busy and so in the logical stress of work that I thought, you know what? If I can calm my nervous system while I go to sleep, why not? If I can
Yeah,
program my subconscious while I'm sleeping, why not?
yeah,
So I
exactly.
started with the headband because I thought, you know what? I may not notice or feel anything, but if I can start programming my body in a different way, then it's better than doing nothing. And,
Yeah,
some of the stuff that I was doing, like some of the guided meditations, I could see a difference. Some of them I couldn't, but it all built and
yeah,
grew from there. So, do
yeah.
you do you have any strategies that you can share with our viewers that they might be able to take and implement today?
I do. But this is okay. So this is like really for expansion and integration. Because, like I say, I went from Reiki level 1 to my mastery, then to the other masteries. And since then, in the last 6 months, even, I've expanded so much. I expanded so much through the pandemic. I went to dimensions I never dreamed I could get to. It was absolutely amazing. And so there isn't all that pain in the other dimensions, that all the pain that we have here on this earth. You don't feel that pain. So you can be with a person, and then let's say there's lots of pain going on around you with your family. You can actually bring yourself to a higher dimension so that you observe rather than feeling and taking on all that pain. So I know many of your viewers are going to go, oh my God, I know exactly what she's talking about. It's so painful. So one thing though, I'm going to offer for integration and aligned expansion, a couple of 3 steps. So I've got my notes here. So the first one, number one, is pause and presence. So you're going to begin with stillness and breath. So you talk about meditation, but even the breath work is so important. Just becoming still and then doing that breath work every day. And when I say that, it's just like breathing in, and you can have different counts. Everybody offers different counts when it comes to breath work, right? So it might be 1, 2, 3, 4 in, hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, release, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so in through the nose, hold, and release. And on the count of 4 for each one. So that's just an example of what you can do. So that's number one. Number two, reflect and receive. So journal daily, ask yourself, and I'll give you time to write this down. What am I already embodying that I haven't celebrated yet? What am I already embodying that I haven't celebrated yet? And number three, the gentle next step. Take on aligned action each day, no matter how small. That is so important that we move through alignment and that we put it into action. We're all, everybody can talk big talk. Everybody can talk, but are you doing it? I mean, people would say to me, how come your Reiki seems different when I have a Reiki treatment with you? And I'm like, I don't know. And then, of course, I meditated and I prayed on it. And it was because I do it on myself every day. I literally live it. No, I don't walk around like a guru and I don't have a robe and I don't have I eat meat and I do all of those things. But I live Reiki. I live and breathe it. And I do everything I can. I don't think I would be here if I didn't. I didn't think I would live past 50 years of age. And I'm 69 now. So I feel amazing. I feel like I'm actually, this is really weird. And it's just happening to me or for me, is that I feel younger. I feel like I'm getting younger. And I hope that continues because that's an amazing feeling. And I'm sure it's because I am ascending. I am doing this ascension work. It's amazing. And expansion without integration, you that creates burnout. Like you end up
Mhm.
burning out. So, and I hear about that so often. People are expanding, and you'll see it. They're expanding. They're online, and they're expanding, and then you hear like they're not doing well. Well, they're not integrating. They're not taking the time for that integration. And we have to do that to have that sustainable growth. It's so important by
Yeah.
weaving that expansion and integration together.
And that's important for anything that you're learning. You have to integrate it. Otherwise, it's just wisdom. There's
Yeah.
nothing like you have to take time to embody and, like you say, integrate and apply it and really learn it. I seen a thing here recently with Bob Proctor, and his mentor would have a book stand, and he'd have a book out with clips holding those pages open. And when he asked why did he do that, he said, because I read one page and I do not go to the next page until I fully understand and can apply what that page is teaching me. And I was like, wow, that's a slow read. But it makes
It,
sense. Like, how
but
often
he's
do we burn through
integrating it.
books? Yeah.
Hmm.
How often do we burn through books and audibles and
Yeah.
teachings and programs and all the different things that we take on and don't
Yeah.
really absorb what we've learned, apply what we've learned, and really take it to heart and make shifts and changes that are going to last.
Yeah. And I am a person who, I can't remember what I read 3 pages ago. I am that person, but I am such a feeling person. Everything for me is about feeling and picking up. not picking up energies in a negative way, but picking up what's going on with the person. No, I can't read what's going on. I haven't tapped into you and I choose not to because you didn't ask me to. I'm not that person. I remember going by a psychic's place and I thought she could see inside my car. Like that's how freaked out I was about stuff back then. No, it's not like that, right? It's just that, you bring in the information as you need to help that person. And for me, I wanted to help people to heal. That's the path I ended up being on. Then I wanted to teach people how to heal. And that was the next phase of my life. And now I want to get people. They don't have to be the healer, right? I want to help them to ascend to those higher dimensions. That's what I'm doing all the other, but this is my focus right now. And I'm integrating right now myself. I'm in a place of integration. I'm in a place of, well, most of the time I get up at 3 in the morning and write a lot of courses. So I think I'm up to I'm probably at about, I was over 50 courses before. I'm probably up to 60 different ones now. But I love it because now I can do these short little courses on Zoom. I can teach in person. I love it.
That's
It's my
awesome.
passion.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's definitely different and it's opened my eyes up big time to get me where I am today because without it I wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
And
it's been fun watching you. It's been fun watching you grow. I mean, you were a workaholic when I met you. That's how I met you. And you were just like, everything was up here in this
oh,
head.
yeah, 100%. Anything from the
Yeah.
neck down was numb. And now I'm to the point now that when I start doing too much, my body break. Like I'm not one to take breaks. And even when you read my different personality charts, I can go for hours without breaks. Like I have that Energizer Bunny
Mhm.
energy,
Yeah,
but my body needs the quiet time and the quiet space to rejuvenate from that. So although I can
absolutely.
go long periods of time without breaks and I prefer when I start something, I prefer not to take breaks. That's part of my personality. But even my gene keys in human design says the rejuvenation comes in the quiet space. I need to take quiet
Yeah.
space. And now my body, I can feel it in my body now when I need that time. Where before it didn't exist. I didn't take it at all. Didn't know
It's so
how.
important. It's so important. Deepak Chopra is one of my teachers, and he always told us, like, get up every hour and move around. And, even in meditation, he would say it's the silence between the words. That's what takes you into the meditative state. So people would say, oh, but, my mind's so busy. And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. You are going into meditative state when you have that silent moment in between the
Yeah.
words. If it's a guided meditation, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Good for you,
The
Anne.
guided meditations have been huge for me because without them, I probably wouldn't be here either because I started those before I even met you. And, I really think that they help prepare me, even though my mind was not quieting. My system was starting to learn to slow down slowly. Obviously, 2 years
Beautiful.
took a while, but I mean, it was
Matter,
huge.
right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how long it takes, right? The
Yep.
fact
Yep.
is that you're on the path. And we all need to be on that path to self-love, self-care, and self-wellness.
And what I just as we were talking here, I just realized it was after my Reiki training that my mind quieted.
Yeah.
And because even when I was doing distance Reiki for people just to practice, the information that would pop in, because I would hear people talk about embodiment, and I'm like, what the fuck is embodiment? And then they would talk about downloads, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, what do you mean download? Now I get it. I understand because I'll have information, words pop in, colors
Yeah.
pop in. Even my dreams now, I can actually remember them and almost relate them back to either something that's happening, has happened, take it as an answer to a question that I've been asking. Like it's crazy now how you tap into things where before you just ignored them or didn't even I was so checked out that I didn't even there was nothing coming in. Like
Yeah. Yeah. And you were plugged up, right? Like that energy was plugged up. And that's where the the initiation from a Reiki master, opening your channel, your vessel, that goop in your vessel, I always say, it cleans out the goop. And by
Yeah.
doing that Reiki treatment on yourself every day, you start cleaning out that goop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
I
makes
remember when
room for that divine information.
yes. And when they first started talking about chakras, I had to Google what chakras were. I was like, what the hell's a chakra? And when I started to realize and understand what they were, I was like, holy crap, like I must be trapped in every possible chakra when I first started this whole thing because there in every area there I could tell you there was absolute 100% blockage. Like I
Yeah,
was
you're not
turned off.
alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone. And thank goodness there is so much information now and available. And I love teaching all of that. The chakras. I have chakra classes that are, I think, about an hour and a half on a weeknight. We have so many sessions. It's important once you get to know what your body's about, what that energy is about, and then to move that energy. It's so powerful.
It is. Yes. Absolutely. So tell us what you have coming up because I talk to a lot of people, but not often they have events because you're always creating
Always.
and delivering.
Okay, I am always doing that. Right now, I actually am doing it's called Sacred Temple, and it's taking women through their body. So we've done a 5-week session, and each week we go through different parts of their body. And the last week is integration. So that's been really fun. I'm already into the second one, which is an evening one, and it's actually this evening is number 2. Um, but if that's happening. I may offer that again because, it's good. I offer sometimes heart chakra course or chakra going through all the chakras. But right now, what I do have on my books is November 1st and 2nd, Heal Your Life. So I'm a Heal Your Life facilitator based on Louise Hay's philosophies, which are amazing, I believe. If it wasn't for her book, I don't know where I'd be. Like, I just take that the one thing I take, and I want to share this because it makes all the difference in my life and in my losses and everything that I go through is this message. One word, one thought can change your life, be it good or bad. You choose. I choose happiness. I choose joy. So, it's that's what keeps me going. You want to know how I keep going, how I stay above water? That's how I stay above water. It's like remembering that, doing energy work on myself, and then always coming from a place, doing my best to come from a place of compassion and love, and then just knowing that everybody is doing the best they can with what they have. So I have that. So that's first and second, it's powerful. People love this workshop. It's absolutely amazing. It's only $3.99 plus tax for 2 days, and it is life changing. I literally can say that because I don't even know if somebody has told me that it hasn't changed their life. I'm sure there's the odd one out there, but I've taught hundreds of people, so it's been amazing. I'm also I do full moon meditation in Pinoka, Alberta. So on the full moon, usually I run that. I'll be doing that in November as well. And then I'm so excited because it's taken me, oh my gosh, probably at least a year to launch this. I'll be starting the 5D Ascension training. That'll be on Zoom, and there'll be like 9 sessions for the fifth dimension ascension training. And then people can continue to the other dimensions. I'll take them into other dimensions and do all the training for that if they choose to carry on. But anyway, that's starting Remembrance Day, November 11th. And I just thought Remembrance Day has a lot of meaning for me, and I thought it was a good time to offer that. So I'll be offering that.
That is so awesome.
But stay tuned because I can tell you there's going to be a whole lot of courses in between that.
That's awesome. So I'm going to make sure that your contact information is down below in the description. So even if people see this a year from now, they'll be able to contact you and find out what's relevant then, because God knows how many courses you're going to create between now and then. And
Exactly.
because you've always got stuff on the books, which is awesome. So I'm going to make sure that all your contact information and how to reach you is below. I know Facebook is your platform of choice on social media, but we'll make sure
Yes.
that other contact information is there as well. So I can't thank you enough for being here today with me. This has been beautiful conversation, a beautiful journey with you over the
Thank you.
last 5, 6 years, however long we've known each other.
Thank you
And
so much, Anne.
oh,
It was
yeah,
my pleasure, really. It's been absolutely wonderful to have this wonderful little chat with you. And I just love it. I love everything I do. And I can see that you are soaring and doing what you love.
excellent. Thank you so much, my love. Take care,
Thank
everybody. And
you.
remember, breathe deep.
See you. Love you bunches.